Coming up on this episode of Prop IQ, we look at the opportunities that a career in real estate offers you, from sales to property management, commercial real estate, business broking and buyer's agency. There's a career path for everyone. I'll be joined by leading buyer's agent Joanna Boyd, who will talk about her real estate career journey. And we'll also hear from some leading agents who talk about why they love working in the real estate industry. This is Prop IQ. Hello and welcome to Prop IQ, a show produced by the REIQ providing insights into real estate and property. Whether you're a real estate agent working in the industry or a consumer with an interest in property, this is the show for you. I'm Antonia Mercorella, the CEO of the REIQ, and I'm so pleased you've joined me for this series where we take a deep dive into the latest trends, news and insights in the real estate industry. Our last episode was all about getting your property ready for sale. We shared tips about what buyers are looking for and how to present your property to get the best possible price. We looked at how to style your property for sale, and we also investigated virtual styling. Plus, leading agent Nairi Ewings shared some great insights on what buyers are looking for when buying property. If you'd like to check out our Getting Your Property Ready for Sale episode, it's now available to watch on demand at any time. And don't forget, we love hearing from you, so please make plenty of comments and of course, ask lots of questions. So this episode is all about a career in real estate. The real estate profession is constantly evolving and is always presenting new career opportunities. In Queensland, a real estate qualification will allow you to act as a seller's or buyer's agent, a property manager, a business broker, a commercial leasing and sales agent, and an auctioneer. A salesperson registration certificate issued by the Office of Fair Trading will allow you to be employed by a licensed agent. Meanwhile, a real estate agent's licence allows you to operate your own business. In Queensland, the property market is valued at $2 trillion. It is the largest asset class in the state. Real estate professionals facilitate the sale of these assets as well as managing them, placing an enormous responsibility in the hands of our profession. With real estate related legislation increasing in complexity every year, the right training is vital when you are seeking your qualification to give you the best foundation for your career. As a registered training organisation, the REIQ offers an award-winning program that provides registration, certificate for and licence qualifications. To help give you an insight into what a real estate career can offer, we caught up with some of Queensland's leading real estate professionals to get their insights.
I'm Carla Lynch, I'm from Ray White at New Farm. I have worked for the Ray White New Farm office for over 14 years. I started from the humble beginnings from being the receptionist and then have worked my way up into being my own sales agent.
Jason Luckhart, I'm the head of commercial for NAI Harcourts, which is the commercial iteration of the Harcourts Group. So I look after all the offices Australia-wide.
My name is Vince Koenig. I'm a principal of Link Business Brisbane. I'm a business broker and I've been one for 20 years.
Hi, I'm Caroline Duxfield. I'm a property manager with McGrath North Lakes. Been with them for about 10 years.
Before I became an agent, I worked in the hospitality industry. My dad owned a pub in New Zealand, and so my sisters and I grew up in that industry.
Just before becoming an agent, I owned a pub. It was a good experience. You learn a lot from dealing with people, having to deal with your customers and making sure that, you're managing all the moving parts because, as the nights get later, things move a lot quicker.
I actually finished high school, got into a family business which was in hospitality, restaurants, whilst I was also going to university. So I spent a few years really learning how to be pretty sociable, I guess. That was the start to my working life.
My background's predominantly admin, worked for a few different sort of like industries and companies. My husband and I did about 7 years working at a tourist complex. We were lifeguards managing the swimming pool complex, and we also managed the campground that was attached to that. So did that for about 7 years. Probably was maybe a stepping stone.
My startup gig in real estate was accidental, to be honest. I've been really fortunate that when I landed from New Zealand, that I landed into the New Farm and Tenerife community, and then I worked in hospitality. I got to meet people, and then when I got the opportunity to work for Ray White New Farm, I kind of just saw it as a new beginning of starting a career. And I've been doing my own sales for 8 years.
University, it certainly gave me a certain part of the basis of where I was going to go in life. But by the same token, I was thinking, gee, I enjoy interacting with people, and as a result of that, it led me to real estate, because real estate's probably one of the greatest people businesses on the planet, I think.
Somebody once said to me, actually, a good salesman is not a salesy person. It's someone that's a good communicator and that's got integrity. And I thought, I think I've got those things. So I decided to take the leap into sales.
We ended up buying a house, and the agent that we bought through was the principal of the real estate company, and he mentioned to me that they were looking for a part-time sales administrator. So I went and got the job with them and started there.
I love where I work. I love the people that I work with. I love the company that I work for. When people ask me where they should live, I always hold it with pride that this is the place to be. And so I feel really proud when I get to say that that's what I do and that this is where I work. So
there's nothing else that I really want to do. I just keep coming back to this. It's just great. Like, every day is a challenge, and if the rewards are really great as well, like, you can go home every day knowing that you've made a difference.
You make your own hours, you work for yourself primarily, but you're also seeing so much. Like, one day you could be talking to someone about coffee roasting. You could be in a coffee roasting business. The next day you could be talking to a guy about making lithium batteries. It's quite unique in that sense, and I still find it fascinating.
For me, it's, as I said, it suits my personality, and I think that's the biggest difference. But for me, it's the dealing with developers, dealing with business people, and making those really big decisions. I enjoy the complexity of that. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of extra skill sets, but they're really, really satisfying for me.
So, a career in the real estate profession offers great diversity. Whether you're interested in residential or commercial real estate, sales or property management, business broking or auctioneering, there's literally something for everyone. I'm now joined by Joanna Boyd. Joanna is an award-winning buyer's agent who's had an interesting background and a fascinating journey to becoming a real estate professional. Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you so much.
Now, Joanna, let's start on your background. You've been a buyer's agent now for 5 years, running your own business, but tell us a little bit about your career beforehand and what led you to real estate.
Sure. I've always been in property. I've been navigating the Queensland property real estate sector for the last 25 years, and I've had various roles, predominantly in real estate franchising, and then also moved through to property management and sales. So all of the skills that I've learned through my career has brought me to my passion, which is buyer's agency. I found that there was a niche in the market, and I really wanted to pursue that because I felt that that was me, that was something that I was aligned to.
Wonderful. Now, I want to talk about the role of a buyer's agent. It's not commonly understood. We have seen buyer's agency growing and becoming more prolific in Queensland. So tell us a little bit about the role of a buyer's agent and what a typical day looks like for you, if there's such a thing.
Exactly. Well, there is no typical day, but essentially a buyer's agent represents a buyer through a property transaction. So obviously you have a selling agent that represents the seller or the vendor, vendor. As a buyer's agent, we try to represent the buyer to ensure that they are not paying over budget, they're being realistic in their property search, also putting together all the due diligence and really educating them and demonstrating the best way that they can make a property purchase as well. So we really do go into bat with them for so many reasons. So in terms of a typical day, it's very diverse. We try to follow an ideal week, an ideal day, but equally we're also working with our clients as well as building our own brands, connecting with real estate agents, getting professional trades in our corner and working with them and creating those referral relationships. So ultimately we want to be a conduit in a transaction, and it's really important that we have access to all these people so we can best assist our clients.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point you make, that often when people are buying, they will ask the selling agent certain questions and they don't necessarily understand that the selling agent is acting in the best interest of the seller. And of course, that's what the buyer's agent does. And I think that assistance with due diligence, and of course, as we know, we don't buy property every day. So it's not something that buyers are necessarily familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing that more and more prevalent now. People don't transact regularly. We buy property every single day. So for somebody that's maybe only bought and sold twice in their lifetime, it's really overwhelming and quite daunting, not just through all the legislative requirements, but just even getting a deal together and making an offer look favourable to the seller. So that's when we really have to work with the real estate agents to understand what's that motivator behind the seller, so then we can actually then factor and manipulate our offers that it's going to be beneficial to both parties.
Yeah, I think that's so comforting for so many buyers having access to that service. And Joanna, we're talking on this show about the diversity that a real estate qualification offers. You've selected buyer's agency as your pathway, but what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about a career in real estate but isn't sure about which sector to choose?
Sure, I think the best guidance I would suggest would be starting at a real estate office from the ground up, or even starting in like a reception, administration, support role. It's really important that you understand the operations of a business and the real estate lingo and how to negotiate and do contracts, and be familiar with all of the bits of paper and processes that we need to follow. So it's also about understanding, building your network around getting building and pest inspectors, or qualified trades and professionals, because you will act as a conduit with your clients. So it's really important that you can tap into those resources. So focus on yourself and develop yourself as a brand, but equally understand how the business operates.
And Joanna, you're always really generous. You come along to speak at our career nights. So what's your advice about those events and their value?
The fantastic events, I do believe it gives you an opportunity for a student or wanting to enter into that sector, that they can understand and network with other real estate practitioners, and also understand what else there are in terms of variety. I mean, I think real estate is just pigeonholed sometimes, and people don't understand that there's so many other roles within a real estate business. So the careers nights are fantastic because you can get to hear from everybody.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much, Joanna. Some great insights there. Thanks for sharing them with us.
Thank you.
As we've heard, there are many pathways to becoming a real estate professional, and it's never too late to start that journey. The REIQ is here to support you along the way with its award-winning training programs. With over 60,000 graduates choosing the REIQ for their real estate training, you can start your career on the front foot with our range of training courses that will help to give you a competitive advantage. To find out more, go to reiq.com/training. This is the Q&A part of the show where we want to hear from you. If you have a question about completing your real estate qualification, make sure you comment so we can help you out. Now, I've actually got a few of my own questions, so I've invited Jeff Irvine, who's the head of training at the REIQ, to join me at the desk. Jeff has a wealth of experience in the training sector. So Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Jeff, I want to start with some of the most commonly asked questions we encounter. The first one being, can I work in real estate with no qualifications?
Oh, interesting question, Antonia. The answer is yes, you can, but it's very limited what you can do in the sector. We certainly, as the REIQ, recommend that everybody has at least the registration program to protect yourself and the agency. That said, a non-licensed role, you can certainly answer the phones, you can do some filing or social media, but it's very limited what you can do.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we always recommend that you have at least the registration certificate, because even if you're in a behind the scenes or support role, it's very easy to accidentally trip over into that territory that is reserved for registered or licensed practitioners. And of course, then you're breaking the law and putting your agency at risk, as you've mentioned. So let's then move on to the question of registration versus license. Can you explain to us the difference between those two things?
Absolutely. The registration program, 12 units of competency drawn from a Cert 4, so it's a partial completion of a certificate for qualification. These units cover everything from sales, marketing and property management and real estate legislation, of course. Whereas the full licence program is 19 units of competency, 17 from the Cert 4 and a couple of units from the diploma level. So that's much more targeted at people running the business. So where you're either a contractor or a licensee, that's where you need the full license, because you need to understand the customer service, the operational finances and the trust accounting elements, which are all included in that program.
Yeah, I think really simplistically what we tend to say is, if you're going to be employed by a real estate business, the registration certificate will be sufficient. But as you say, if you want to run the business or manage a trust account, you must have the license or be engaged as a contractor.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about online learning, which many are now opting for, as opposed to face-to-face, and which one is best in your view?
Absolutely. The amount of times I get asked this a day, Antonia. Look, it really depends based on the individual's learning and learning style and wants. So our face-to-face course is really an opportunity to dive deeper on the core concepts, the learning, the forms, the contracts, etc. You're led by an industry expert. So our trainers generally have anywhere between 20 to 40 years experience. They've been hand-plucked from the industry because we identify them as the best of the best, and we want to provide students access to that. So the face-to-face really allows you, as I mentioned, to dive deeper. That said, the online learning program, our program actually won an award back in 2022 for the e-learning design and the interactivity that we've got embedded into the program. So you're not disadvantaged by studying online. Online's a lot more flexible, allowing you to study where you want and when you want. It's perfect for people that may be working full-time or have other commitments like family or sporting obligations that they need to structure the course around. And certainly we're seeing some great success with students doing that.
And I think as well that online learning option is just so good if you are working full time and simply can't find the time to sit in a classroom. But there's really no right or wrong. As you say, it comes down to your individual circumstances. Now I'm going to ask you a question that I know I get 10 times a day, which is how long will it take to complete either the registration or the licence course?
Absolutely. And how long's a piece of string, I guess, is the answer to that. It really depends on what you're bringing to the table as a student entering into the program. So it is based on your skills, your knowledge and your understanding and ability to dedicate your time and focus as well. So on average, the 12 units of competency included in the registration program, I would say students are completing in about 2 to 3 months on average, and the full licence being the 19 units of competency, I would say on average about 3 to 4 months. That said, Antonia, you can definitely do it quicker, or we provide up to 12 months to complete the full licence or up to 6 months to complete the registration program, to again really allow students to design the program how they want and to structure it how they need.
Yeah, I think that's the key difference with adult learning. You move at your own pace, and so we've seen some students finish those courses so quickly, but others take a little bit longer because of personal circumstances. So that's a good answer. And look, to finish up, I wanted to touch on, we've spent some time in this episode looking at the diverse pathways that a real estate qualification offers. So that's beneficial but can also be a little bit confusing for students who aren't sure what to choose. So what's your advice to someone who's thinking about a real estate qualification but really isn't sure which sector they want to move into?
Great one. So our trainers, as I mentioned before, they've got anywhere between 20 to 40 years experience in the industry. They actually act as also career coaches for our students entering into the program. So students quite often contacted them and just asked for a little bit of guidance. And for those students who may not want or be comfortable talking to a trainer over the phone, we've also introduced career networking evenings where we invite the industry to meet with our students to really provide that insight, that guidance and that exposure to the different pathways that are available to allow students to really get an understanding. So our recommendation to students who may be unsure, just start and find out as your journey proceeds.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we're able to then give guidance about the most appropriate sector for them based on their characteristics and attributes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. All right, well, some really great information and tips in there, Jeff. Thanks for joining me today.
Wonderful, thank you.
Now, don't forget, if you've got any other questions or feedback, make sure you comment so we can respond to you. And if you'd like to be part of our Q&A segment or appear on the show, make sure you follow us on social media. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Prop IQ. I hope you found it informative, and don't forget to share this video with your family, friends and colleagues. See you next time.